the back, the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting, well, not from the lush but not lavish studios. We're from undisclosed locations, the virtual roundtable. It is Real Spoilers, episode 833, I think.
We never really know.
Yes. Captain America, Brave Snooze World. So,
Oh, no.
So let's go around the virtual table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Matt.
And this is Tom. So Kevin is out this week. He was on vacation, and then we were supposed to record Sunday, but then Matt. almost killed himself
And his entire band.
and his entire band.
Hey, I wanted to spend a little more time with the gang, so I drove the van into a hole, and we hung out there for 8 hours.
He drove his van into a ditch, which is a metaphor for his life
Yeah.
writ large.
Yeah.
That's how we got him on the Patreon.
Yeah.
We got him at his lowest.
And everyone was fine, and the van is fine. And towing things is harder than you might think. It is.
In wet mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of them standing there going, yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's all music people, so they don't know how to fix anything.
No.
Like
Well, and then the tow truck finally got there, and they're like, well, did you try backing up? And I was like,
Does this do that?
man.
Yeah.
And it drove right out, so, yeah.
I love the old turn it off and on again.
Yeah.
Did you try this thing that everybody would have tried immediately? Oh.
We turned it off, turned it on again, and there we were back on the highway. That was it.
I remember when the car broke down one time during my first marriage, and my wife is like, well, get out and pop the hood and look at it. And I'm just like, have we met? Like, unless I pop the hood and there's a giant on-off switch flipped to off, like, what am I even looking for? Like, come on.
Yeah, like okay, I guess I'll check the oil.
Yeah.
That's as far as like is the like the windshield washer fluid topped off? Oh, good.
Yeah, I know
That's
how to
as
do
far
that.
as I
Wait,
can get
but-
you.
Yeah.
If the cars broke down, how would you drive it to AutoZone to have them check the oil?
And this was
Good.
pre-Uber.
You know what?
Yeah, so like you could
Didn't think about that. That's a great point, Matt.
So, shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That is super helpful and greatly appreciated. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's called the League of Show Sharers because we're hoping you will share an episode. I do not have a list of show sharers this week because last week's episode was so bad. Absolutely nobody shared it. No, of any
Oh,
kind.
well, you know.
Actually,
here's the wild thing. That movie made a bunch of money.
did it? I don't know
Hard
how.
Eye, Hard Eyes like kept it didn't beat Captain America, obviously.
Sure.
But it made more money, I think, in its second weekend than it did in its opening weekend.
I love when that happens. Like,
I agree.
Yeah, you don't see that as much anymore, so that's always fun.
I am happy for it. I'm glad that happened.
So, real talk, as the kids from 10 years ago would say. Kevin was on vacation, and so he didn't get around to editing the episode until later, which is the real reason we don't have the League of Show Sharers.
Correct.
So we will get you next
Correct.
week. So,
Have no fear.
But so also don't forget our Patreon, patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra. We just recorded the next SNL episode, Wayne's World 1 and 2. Has that's up yet? No,
It is not up.
it's not up yet. But
No.
I did that one too. All the more enticement.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
It's a classic app. It's great.
I got to tell you, I was talking to my girlfriend
Okay.
And she loves Wayne's World. She is, when I said that I was recording that, she was like, I love that movie. And I was like, you do? Like, she's like, I love it. And then after rewatching it, I was like, I gotta tell you, this is real. Like, it's a really good movie.
Yeah,
like
it's
the first Wayne's World is pretty great.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You can hear me say it eventually when it gets
One
uploaded.
day for $5.
For $5.
Yeah,
For $5, you can hear him say that. Oh, we'll have to edit this part out where you just said that it was great because they haven't paid $5.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just bleep it out.
You're right. You're
Just
right.
giving
Yeah.
it away. Just giving
Sorry,
it
sorry,
away.
sorry.
So
I didn't say what I thought about Wayne's World 2.
okay. Ooh, teaser. So also, don't forget that we are available on the YouTube. So check that out. Or if you're actually already watching this on YouTube, I think the kids point down and they're like, hit a button down there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Click
Yep,
and subscribe
yep,
or whatever.
Yeah. So, so anyway, there's all that. Let's dig into Captain America: Brave New World. I will have to say, to start, I love the fact that they finally acknowledge the celestial thing
Yeah.
from Eternals, because Eternals is the worst, most boring of all the Marvel movies. So
I
it's-
don't think it's the worst.
it's fitting that it would then be addressed in this, what I think is now perhaps the second worst,
so-
most boring of all the Marvel movies.
That's so interesting because I think I have not seen anyone. We've talked about this before, where it's either you love it or you hate it,
Yeah.
right? Like there's no in between. This one to me, this was. I had a lot of fun with this one. I liked it a lot. I liked the. I think Anthony Mackie kind of proves that he could carry a team. You know, like if they put him in, which is what they kind of reference in this. The problem is they are going up against the strongest trilogy in the MCU. Right? I think Captain America is the best
yes,
trilogy
right.
in the MCU.
Certainly the most consistent. Although Guardians...
Absolutely. I think Guardians is a very close second,
Yeah.
but I think Civil War and Winter Soldier like kind of kicked the out of Guardians 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And I had a great time with this movie. I had fun with it. I gave it like a solid 7.5. I think it's one of the better ones they've done recently. In the
Maybe I
4
might
through
agree with
6. And maybe because the bar was so low, I was like, yeah, man, that was fun. That was good.
It just, to me, felt so inconsequential. Like, it... And
This
I was
feels like
honestly
Iron
just kind
Man.
of bored. Like,
Yeah.
like, and it's
Interesting.
weird because it's one of those few times, or not few times, but like when it comes to Marvel movies, it's interesting in that, like, it's tomato meter. The public likes
Yeah.
it more than the critics do, and it's weird to see people going around spiking the football over that. I'm just like, first off, you need to go get out and meet like people, like face to face. Like there's something broken inside of you if that's
Yeah.
important to you. But also, like, most of the reviews that I've been reading from critics, they're not like, this is complete dog. I mean, I think most of those, I feel like most of those critics that like ended up on a Rotten Tomato rating were like just barely. Where like
Sure.
Metacritic would probably be a better example of where it actually lands.
I think Metacritic is always a better example.
for sure, because it's got more
Yeah.
nuance, right? Like
Right.
Rotten Tomatoes is just pass fail, where Metacritic's going to give you more, like I said, gradients, and
Yeah.
and because most of the reviews I read were like that, even were ultimately negative, were like, it's just kind of a whole lot of nothing, but like it's fine, I guess.
But I
Like,
think that
you know.
that's what I see. I kind of disagree with that. To me, this is kind of like Iron Man in that it is setting the stage for what's next. It doesn't deal with what's next. It doesn't like, it's not like super interconnected, but there's enough stuff in here that's like, okay, we're getting ready for, well, we talked about the Celestial, like that's the introduction of Adamantium.
Right.
Like that's a big deal, right? Like, cause that's
I am, by the way, I'm very sad. I forgot Kevin wasn't going to be on this episode, and I did have a whole idea of going like, what is that big guy in the ocean? Are we supposed to have known about that? They just bring that up out of nowhere?
But I mean, like the introduction of Adamantium sets up Wolverine.
Sure.
Like and he is, well, he's not right now, but he in Marvel's past, he is like their number 1 to number 2 guy.
Yeah.
For a very long time. It sets up what I think is going to be whatever Secret Wars is. With the
but
leader.
I think some of the problem with that is I feel like we just had a whole lot of setting the table for Kang.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's true.
They
That's
set
fair.
the table and then they went, guys, everyone canceled. We just
Yeah, and so
clear the table.
And
Clear the table.
I get why that happened, and it's not entirely their fault. In fact, it's entirely Jonathan Major's fault.
Right.
But like we've been in setting the table mode for a long time now.
Absolutely right.
And yes, Iron Man was setting up things, but Iron Man was also literally the first movie.
Yeah.
And Anthony Mackie, God love him, and it's not a fair comparison, but he's no Robert Downey Jr.
That's true.
And also,
and the character's not a Tony Stark, right? Like
precisely, and that's exactly what I was about to say. And this is, and so it's like, it to me, this never really got fun. It was just kind of like a rote action movie that happened to have some superheroes in it, and I like the TV show. I like Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier I just rewatched it in preparation for this, and I do think you need to watch it to understand where all of our characters are at this point. Like, if you didn't watch it, you'd have no idea who Isaiah Bradley is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, and he's a major character in that show.
But like, for some reason, for me, this felt smaller than the TV show, and
I could see that.
And like
see what
that
you're saying,
should not be the case. And so, I didn't hate it. I was just like, but of all the Marvel movies, for me, this is definitely like in the lower tier. Like
Interesting.
The only way I would watch this movie again is if I was doing a full on let's rewatch everything from start to finish. Which I'll save till I retire. So about 6 months.
Coming back to the Real Spoilers Patreon.
Yeah. And but yeah, I just like it. Just like I said, I was just kind of like, meh.
Well, I do feel too like, and I know what happens in the comics, but like the more things that happen, the more whatever bad guys and things and what's the character? I can't think of Captain
The
America's
leader?
name
Sam.
right now.
Wilson.
Sam Wilson. His not having the serum just makes less and less sense. And I know we're in a comic book world, and I know now he has a special suit.
Which they never tell you what it actually does or how it works or what its limitations are. It just does things.
But
I think we know that his suit is Wakandan. I think that's in Winter Soldier. That's kept in Falcon.
And he
they
references
tell you that his
that it was it was made.
And we see like the purple when he uses his wings. The purple, like reflective energy that was on the Black Panther's suit is on the wings.
Right. And I also, and this, I know it's dumb. I don't like Captain America having like wings and like being the and I don't know what the answer to that is, but he's like Captain Falcon that's Nintendo.
I understand you like your black superheroes to have their wings clipped. I get where you're going. I understand.
That is the joke I was saving, but Tom, you did great.
Well, no, wait. You know what it is? I think black characters should have their own superhero, not just take the mantle of a white superhero. They deserve their own.
And every black superhero's name should start with the word black.
Black.
He should have been called Black Captain America, and then.
Oh, I think he is in certain circles. Yeah. I think he absolutely is. But I do like that joke in the Winter Soldier, the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show, when he's meeting Isaiah for the first time, and the one kid's like, "Yeah, aren't you like you're the Black Falcon?"
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm just Falcon. Like it's just Falcon."
Well, and I obviously I do think the idea of Captain America being a black guy is cool and like important
for sure.
But I almost feel like it kind of blurs like they're all getting Iron Man suits and they're all getting wings, and like then
Yeah.
there's the problem of like, well, why don't they give everyone wings? Like, wouldn't it be better if Hawkeye could also fly? Like, which is a dumb nitpicky thing, but I think about it when I'm watching the movie. So I like the parts where he's out of the suit more. Like I thought that stuff was more interesting.
I liked this. So the
When
first
he's
suit
fighting out of it.
is comic accurate. Like that's kind of the
Yeah.
suit that Sam was wearing in the comics. I kind of dig the second suit. Like that second suit that is Steve Rogers inspired.
Yeah.
I thought was great. I like the helmet. I think the helmet looked cool. I like that Joaquin, who is the new Falcon, or Spanish Falcon, if we're gonna give it other people names or whatever. I like that they took Sam's original Falcon outfit and outfitted it for him. I like their dynamic. I think they have a good kind of buddy, like Tom said, like buddy cop road movie dynamic between the two of them. And of course, the rookie gets taken out because he's too headstrong. And I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this movie a million times. Like I know this trope very well. But I think, I think this is, like I said, I think it moves everything forward. I like the callbacks to the Hulk. I know that I'm in the minority with the Incredible Hulk.
It was really weird that this was a secret sequel
To the
a
Incredible Hulk.
movie whose existence is largely forgotten and or written off, and whose cast is either gone or dismissed, right?
Yeah,
And
I mean, obviously Tim Nelson Blake was in it, which I do like. I like the reference of the song because that was the name, his code name in the Incredible Hulk. They teased that. That was one of those. I saw like an article on, I don't know what it was, one of those websites, Screen Rant or something, of like comic book post-credit scenes that went nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was like Superman at the end of Black Adam, and then it was them. It was Tim. It was the leader at the end of the Incredible Hulk.
So you're saying there's a chance that Superman, Black Adam, that's going to pay off?
I think
oddly enough,
that
it pays off in Secret Wars.
That's
Who'da thunk it?
That one might be the most egregious, where it's like they have Henry Cavill cut his hair, put him back in the suit, play the John Williams theme, and he has this standoff. You're like, well, we're getting Black Adam versus Superman, and then no, we're not.
Yeah,
nothing.
And he probably got like $8 million to do that. So good.
Oh,
for him.
absolutely, he did.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good
Once
for
he
him.
goes like, we need to talk or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
And then they
since
talked.
anybody's
I mean, what do you
made-
need to know? They had a conversation.
They met
He's
at
Superman. He
Panera
talked
and-
him down.
Yeah.
It's fine. But the Tim Blake Nelson cameo as Samuel Stearns, the leader.
So do you think they signed him to a deal, right? Like, and he owed them a movie, and like 15 years later, it's like the mafia.
That's
Every
so
time
funny.
you think they're out, they pull you back in.
Well,
like they
I'm
showed up.
retired.
They had a time limit on the contract. They're like, oh, like we're running out of time. We got to get this guy in a movie, or we're gonna have to pay him for nothing. But the leader is one of those Marvel
Like, you could have completely
villains.
recast that. I would have never known until you just mentioned it. I completely forgot that he was in the Hulk. Like I was.
Blood in his head.
Yeah, he gets Ed Norton turns into the Hulk. He gets knocked backwards, cuts his head open, and then gamma radiated blood falls into his brain, and he gets smart. I think his design was cool. Like, I liked the creepiness of it. I liked seeing him in the shadow and like the ringed eye. But yeah, you're right, Tom. Ed Norton gone. William Hurt, unfortunately dead and recasted in this as Harrison Ford. Who else is in that? Who's Phil Dunphy? What's that guy's name?
Well, that's a character on Modern Family. I don't.
Yeah, but what's
think
the actor's name?
Ty
Burrell.
Ty Burrell is in that as Doc Samson. And then of course,
I totally forgot he was in that.
That's
yeah,
right.
he's Betty's boyfriend. in that. And then of course
he should have popped up at the raft at the end.
I know he
Like,
should
we
have.
got married.
They can't afford him. He's got all that Modern Family money.
Yeah, that dude's
Yeah.
making all kinds
Network
of money. And then,
sitcom for like 12 years.
Right.
Oh my
and
God.
then it's and then it's syndicated.
And it's in syndicate. One of the few
Yeah.
shows that actually went into syndication that anybody actually cares about that makes money.
gotta tell
and,
ya.
like,
That show is brilliant.
it's really good.
That show is
I thought it was funny. I
insanely
watched it for a
funny.
while.
Yeah.
I like it. It's very funny.
And it
and-
stayed, I thought, solid throughout. I watched it from beginning to end, and I was really
Oh,
surprised
I think so.
how consistent it was throughout.
It's fun to watch the Lily like grow up.
It's funny when they
and still
recast
be
Lily.
just as funny.
When they recast Lily at first, I was like, this is bad. And then the
Yeah.
longer she was on the show, the more I'm like, this kid is great.
She's
Like,
so good.
She was so
She's so
dry,
good.
and I loved it. And I
Yeah.
just, that's one of the few times I've seen a recasting of a child where I was like, they made the right call.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Good call. And then obviously Liv Tyler as Betty Ross, who is apparently in the MCU now. Like she is the canon Betty Ross at this point, because I don't even know. I mean,
Yeah.
they got her for what, 3 hours? Maybe.
Oh yeah,
an hour.
something.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey,
Maybe.
we'll film by your house if need be.
I feel like they thought that was going to have a lot more impact than it actually did.
The impact to me, the impact should have been Mark Ruffalo. Like Mark Ruffalo visiting Thunderbolt Ross, who busted his balls. You know, obviously it's a little bit different because it was Ed Norton in that movie, but the entire time about being the Hulk and being this weapon, and now spoilers for this movie. If you don't know the comic book story, Thunderbolt Ross becomes a Hulk. Unbeknownst to him, he's being manipulated. But that's, to me, that's that's how it should be. It should be the
Should be
Ed Norton.
manipulated.
Yeah,
The president should be manipulated. I've always.
and I gotta tell you,
I'm having a great
You should
time.
be
right now.
very
it's
happy
happening.
right now.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
Maybe not even Mark Ruffalo as Mark Ruffalo, but like the Mark Ruffalo Hulk walks in and be like, "Cool, now like, well done, you dick."
Well, look who's a Hulk now.
Yeah.
But I mean, and
Well, I do think, I mean, not having the Hulk fight a Hulk, kind of lame.
and maybe
I would
mean,
like to have seen it.
I don't know how the rights work with Universal. Like there is, I think we've always said there's some weird thing where Disney can't do.
They have distribution, I think.
It's like they can't
deal?
actually make a true Hulk movie.
I think they have to have another Marvel character in the movie,
Yeah, so they always backdoor it where,
which is why he was in Thor.
right.
And I believe they technically could make it, but then Universal gets to distribute it, so they don't get the money. Which makes sense. I mean, I'm not
okay.
saying that like I wouldn't want to make
Yeah.
a big,
that's
huge
why
$1 billion movie and then
Yeah.
not get paid for it.
It's like that's why
Right.
you're probably not going to see a World War Hulk.
Yeah.
or
I think you
Planet
could
Hulk.
pull that off. I mean, I wonder if you throw like She-Hulk in there.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could pull that off, because World War Hulk is one of the best Hulk stories they ever told.
Yeah.
It's so, and I guess they kind of do that in Thor, like they give you like a
Right.
truncated version of that. But the idea that the Avengers the Illuminati, not the Avengers, were just kind of like, look, we got to get this psychopath off planet. Like he's just tearing up, and they shoot him into space on accident. Not on accident, but they trick him, shoot him into space. He lands on a planet. And then he becomes like Conan the Barbarian on that planet. It's really good.
Man, you'd have to. Hulk seems pretty chill right now.
I know.
You'd
You'd
have
have to find a way to get like the Hulk from the first
Yeah.
Avengers or even the first Incredible Hulk movie.
I've seen a lot of people complain. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No.
Pretty hard that they feel like the Red Hulk doesn't have enough screen time in this movie, and I don't know that I feel the same way.
I do not feel the same way. I think having him teased throughout the movie is good,
right,
and then getting the big fight, I think, is plenty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else. I guess you could have a totally different story, but if he's turning into the Red Hulk all the time, I don't really know how that would work.
Well, especially with
And,
kind of the conspiracy theory, shadowy subject working behind the scenes. You know,
It reminds me of people that that they said they were like, Two-Face is only in the very end of The Dark Knight. I was like, well, it's the guy. Like, he's in the whole thing.
Harvey Dent is in the movie.
Right.
Like, they want you to care about Harvey Dent before he goes crazy.
So yeah, that didn't. I mean, I know they kind of used the Red Hulk is like he's on the poster and it's like the whole thing, but I don't know. I was fine with that. I thought story-wise, Red Hulk showing up at the end made total sense.
No, it's teasing the monster. I think it's totally fine. And then I will say
that sounds dirty. I just sat back down.
Well, also
teasing the monster.
Teasing the monster.
This is a family podcast.
What I read was that the Red Hulk CGI actually wasn't working, so they could only show him a little bit.
And that's why it looks so good.
And that's why it's so
that makes
good.
Sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. There are moments I wish I could remember. There's a moment in the cherry garden, the cherry blossom garden, that does not look right. Like it's like Cap, and it looks like he's on a green screen, and there's nothing behind him. Because that whole scene does look pretty good. Like the whole fight sequence looks really solid. Right. But there's a couple scenes where I was like, man, that almost looks like AI, and I'm not sure where movies are in that world yet, but it looks close. Like, this does not look like he's even anywhere near on set or wherever this was shot.
I don't remember. But
it was almost
sure.
Yeah, it was kind of a mess. The premise of this is Cap has taken on a role with the government where he's kind of doing what Steve Rogers was doing, where he's going on covert missions and he's rescuing people, but there's another organization that is now taken the place of Hydra called the Serpent Society, which is a thing from the comics, and it's led by I almost called him Copperhead, but I don't know that that's right. Who's the bad guy on this? Who's the guy that like Cap fights like twice? The actor.
Gus Fring. I can't. It's
Sidewinder?
It is Sidewinder.
Yes.
And this was a whole plot point that they have. This movie went through, I don't even know how many reshoots. Like, it went through a bunch. And this whole Serpent Society thing.
Do we know when the reshoots were?
I don't know.
I just wonder if, like, Harrison Ford's character was maybe a little more Trumpy and they dialed it back.
That is, if I was to have a complaint. That's not true. I have a bunch of complaints about this movie.
Who are you?
I do feel like it felt like it would be like, hey, we're gonna make a statement.
Yeah.
And then it would like pull back. And and that's not just to be like, ooh, I wish it agreed with me more.
Why don't you hate the people I hate? Yeah.
It's more just it felt limp, right? Like,
I would 100% agree with that. I agree, Tom. I think they were going for a more Trumpy, and that's kind of who Thunderbolt Ross has always been.
Right.
Like, he's always kind of had that hardcore conservative tint to him.
Sure.
Which is why he's the Red Hulk.
There were Orton joined in December 2023 to write for reshoots, which took place between May and November of 2024.
So
that's still, okay.
That doesn't seem like that would have been the thought. I mean, I know Disney was kind of already de-wokeifying itself, but
right.
But not as much as they are now that it's mandated by law.
but right, it's just, I mean, even like
law
tyrannical. I think if you're gonna make a guy more of a tyrannical authoritarian president, that I mean, that's all up to you if you think that's Trump or not, or you know what I mean, like.
Yeah. I mean,
it is funny that you can take a fictional character and have it do some of those things, and then people will get mad and say, "But Trump doesn't do that." And it's like, "But then why are you mad?"
Then what are you mad about? It's like when they got, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say that SNL had their 50th anniversary this past weekend.
Great. I love
it. It was great. And then I love watching MAGA conservatives get mad at Tom Hanks for
Yeah.
making fun of them, and I was like, dude, if this wasn't real, you wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
But because this is real, it's so funny. That
thought-
sketch was one of my
I thought
favorites.
we weren't supposed to censor our comedy for snowflakes. I'm
Oh
confused.
yeah,
Right.
No,
I'm
how
so
dare you?
confused. Like I thought we shouldn't be
This is what you
canceling
wanted,
people
right?
because they told a joke we don't like.
Yeah.
That's
Unless you're
liberal
Norm Macdonald,
tears. When cucks like Tom Hanks are making jokes, that's them crying. That's them. He's crying. He's coping. Okay.
We're just
I see.
We're
I
just
see.
trolling the YouTube trolls. We're
Oh,
pre-trolling
100%.
them.
Yeah, 100%. Matt's gonna have some weird take. He's gonna say, "I don't know," and then
If
we're
you're
just
getting
gonna
ready to
call it a
type
day.
something angry into the YouTube comments. Good. We don't care.
Yeah, have at
Yeah.
it.
Eat a dick.
Because guess what? We're gonna talk about you on the show.
Yeah.
Don't even sweat it.
It's all fake. We decide our takes before we start recording. We're like, okay, who's gonna hate it? Who's gonna
Yeah.
like it? It's all for engagement. This is all fake.
We have just like we spin a wheel.
That's
We're
right.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So he's and if you didn't watch Winter Soldier, Captain America and the
Or
Winter Soldier,
if you watched it and forgot every single thing about it,
Yeah.
also why I rewatched it.
which, by the
Um,
way, Torres, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
In
You're not
Falcon
just
and the
being-
Winter
you're not just being
Soldier,
racist.
he was nothing to me, and I think he's much more of a character in this. But I did not remember who he was, or like
He was the guy in the chair in that show.
right. But I didn't
Yeah.
get from the show that he was supposed to be like a real
Important.
guy.
I think the only reason you would know if you read the Sam Wilson
I
Captain
don't.
America. That's what I'm saying.
Read.
At all.
He doesn't read. Yeah. Even
Yeah.
if there's
Yeah.
pictures.
We've established. We know.
yeah, no, thank you.
He's a character in that comic. So if you've read the comic,
Okay.
you would know who he is. But otherwise, you wouldn't. You would think he's just the guy in the chair. There's no.
Yeah,
There would be
yeah.
there'd be no reason for you to. Which is weird to think about because in this is random Marvel stupid. In the Punisher TV show, the guy who plays Microchip is Ben Grimm. It's the same actor that
Oh,
played Microchip
cool.
in the Punisher TV show is now playing Ben Grimm in the Fantastic Four. Yeah, and because we're getting 3. To me, this movie I don't know how this is going to tie into the Thunderbolts, right? Because we get the surprise cameo of this movie is after Torres is hurt pretty badly in a takedown mission of missiles, or I think there's a big the big deal of this movie is the leader who has been under lock and key since the Incredible Hulk, who's been providing Ross with all of this information, also with these magic pills to keep him from dying, basically his heart, which they do reference, I think, in one of the Avengers movies. I think Natasha says to him, "You look a little under the weather," and he's like, "My heart, isn't what it used to be." So he's been taking these pills. Little do we know that the leader has been putting this plan together, and inside these pills is just like a little dose of gamma radiation. So he has been flooding Ross with gamma radiation just to turn him and make him the thing that he hates the most. Right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
That sounds right. And the other subplot, which again, Winter Soldier goes hardcore into the political drama, not satire, but like it's a political movie. Like there's governments
sure.
working against other governments, and there's like secret side plots and all kinds of stuff. So in this one, there is this treaty in place because all of the major powerhouse nations are gunning for the Celestial from a movie that nobody saw except for Kevin.
Well, nobody liked except for Kevin.
That's also correct. I almost want to rewatch and be like, "Oh yeah, this is garbage. I forgot." So what we said earlier is that they have found, obviously, Wakanda has vibranium on lockdown, right? Nobody can mess with it unless it comes from the Wakandans. Adamantium, they have found in the Celestial, and adamantium is a major metal in in Marvel. Like again, I said it's the metal they use to coat Wolverine's bones and his claws. Like it's actually in Captain America's shield. So there's a treaty that they're trying to sign that will get
Adamantium's not in the shield. The shield's vibranium.
in the comic books.
In the
It is an
comics,
adamantium
Tom.
vibranium alloy in the comics.
Yeah.
But in the MCU, yes, it is vibranium. So there's this treaty that Ross is trying to get passed that will give all of these the nations access to the adamantium. And the leader is kind of plotting it to where it looks like Ross is trying to take it all for himself, leading to a giant war at the Celestial. Joaquin is hurt in that process, and we get this all leading up to this not weird, but I think it's a weird character move from Bucky. So he shows up in the hospital. He gives Sam a little pep talk. The relationship is much more kind of like Bucky and Steve. But now he's running for Senate.
Okay, I was going to ask if that's in something I haven't seen.
I don't think so. I mean, he's the Winter Soldier.
Right.
Yes, he was pardoned.
Well, now
yes,
he's the winter senator. He's a winter.
He's a Winter. But Bucky running for Senate is fucking weird.
We've seen weirder. Go on.
I mean, that's... You're not wrong. But when we see him in the Thunderbolts, it's like he's the badass Winter Soldier.
Right.
In this one, he's like wearing a suit and he's like, love you, buddy. Which, again, I like that line because it kind of shows you where they are in their relationship.
And you like male-on-male action.
Look, we do not kink shame.
I meant
real
movies.
spoilers?
I meant action movies.
Oh.
But if you want to take it that way,
Well, that's a
that's okay
window
too.
into things that I wasn't anticipating.
You're single now.
So I do like that they've established that they're not they're not at each other's throats anymore.
Right.
Like they're on the same page together.
At each
But I
other's
do
deep
think it's
throats.
weird to have Bucky running for Congress.
Yeah,
Considering-
why? I mean, yeah, maybe it's in the Thunderbolts, right? But right, it seems like, well, why is he doing it? Why does he want to do that? That doesn't
Right.
seem like a thing he'd want to do.
No. But again, he's like he looks like he's the leader of the Thunderbolts
Yeah,
in that trailer. I don't know.
and so you think senators shouldn't be able to lead superhero teams?
Paramilitary
A
excursions.
covert team of former supervillains? Probably
Mhm.
not.
Okay.
Probably not.
All right.
Who are we to decide who's a villain and who isn't?
I have always said, if you can't break the laws if you're protecting the country.
Yeah, there's some other folks that have said that too.
It's one of my favorite Napoleon quotes.
And things worked out so well for him.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
well for him. So yeah, and now it comes down to the leader is executing his plan, and we get everything kind of goes off without a hitch when it comes to they talk the Chinese consulate into not
I think it was Japan.
was it Japan?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was
Is it?
Japan.
It was Japan.
Okay. All right, fine. Everything goes off fine. They're going to announce that the treaty is going through as planned, and then this entire time, Ross has had this, I just want to talk to Betty. That's all I want to do.
I just
wanna
want a
talk to Betty.
cameo.
Dude,
Yeah.
from my
and I
daughter.
thought the cameo was going to be the voice.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
thought that was it. So to their credit, that last little part was fine. But hearing Liv Tyler, he's in the Oval Office. He calls her on the phone. She picks up the phone. The line is yeah, I really should have called after that assassination attempt, but oh well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And he's just no, it's fine. It's fine.
She's at the point where she's willing to accept a call, but seeing him
Not
almost get
check
shot
on him
didn't
after he
make
was
her-
shot at. Right. So then, he's we'll take a walk through the cherry blossoms. And she was like, that's cool. he goes outside, starts giving the speech, and then the leader triggers the transformation, and we get the Harrison Ford CG Red Hulk, which I thought was good looking. Like I thought it looked good.
Oh yeah, hot
It
as hell.
looked like in the comic books, which is funny, they never shave off the mustache. So like when he's in human form, he always has the mustache, but when he's the Red Hulk, it's never there. Which makes no sense, like whatsoever.
It also makes no sense that his pants stay on.
Stretchy, they're stretchy. Which is a line from that first Hulk movie that I really like, where he's like, you know, he lands in that village or whatever, and he's looking at pants, and he's like, "Do they stretch? They're stretchy?" And he was just like, "Yeah, they stretch." And then we get the massive fight, like between Cap, and I do like that. Cap's like, "Man, I should have taken that serum because this sucks." And I was like, "Yeah,
What
dude,
can
you're getting your."
I guess my issue with the serum thing is like, why wouldn't he just take it? There's no downside, right?
Because it's a performance-enhancing drug, and his records wouldn't count if he was,
That's exactly
if he was
right.
using it.
Okay. I mean, I do like with superhero movies. I do think that isn't because the mind control thing the leader does.
Yeah, with the lights.
I think that is potentially an issue for movies, or maybe it's a convenience for the movies where like later they can go, well, oh man, they were just using the leader's mind control thing. Although you could argue the leader is so smart that nobody could replicate.
I think that's kind of what they're saying.
This thing. But like with the serum, it seems like they could do it again.
Do
They
you
got
think
it
this
down.
That was-
Do you think this is a drug thing? Like, I don't even know. Does he use the serum in the comics? when
No,
he's Captain America?
no. So the only people that have the serum are Cap, Steve Rogers.
Right.
Nick Fury has a version called the Infinity Formula,
Okay.
which keeps him from aging.
Right.
Bucky has a combination, excuse me, of both. So
Okay.
Bucky has like a super soldier serum and the Infinity Formula combined.
So, Steve Rogers, Bucky,
And Nick Fury.
Nick Fury.
I don't think
Mark
John
McGuire.
Walker ever got it, but I'm not hip on like deep U.S. agent lore. And I think Isaiah Bradley, I mean, he's a character from the comics, like which I
Right.
thought was a fun story. If you can find it, it's called Truth, I think. And the idea is like, do you really think the U.S. government
I love the
during
premise.
World War II?
I love the premise because it's so it just feels so true, right? Like it's
Absolutely.
It's like, well,
Yeah.
let's not endanger white people by experimenting
Correct.
with this drug. Let's try it on black people first. And like I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what the US government in the
100%.
1930s would have done.
Yeah.
And so like my only complaint about this storyline is, they have to move it forward in time.
Right.
Because I mean, and it still barely makes sense that this guy's alive by moving it forward to Korea, because it really only bumps it up like 8 years,
Yeah, the only reason Steve Rogers is as young as he is because he was frozen.
Right.
Right.
Like that's, I mean, I don't believe the super soldier serum stops you from aging, which we obviously see in Endgame, right? Like he's an old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
I wish even just something like, the Wakandan flower thing is like gone, right? So it's like you can't.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's why we can't just make a million Black Panthers. I mean, maybe they could have done a thing where what's his name, U.S. agent. It's like, oh look, it makes you mad now. We didn't get it right.
Well, they say that right in the show. We know that the guy who was trying to replicate the super soldier serum got blinked out during the snap.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And he had made more of the super soldier serum, and Baron Zemo steals it from the Flag Smashers and ends up destroying it, except for one vial that John Walker did take.
Okay.
In the MCU, John Walker did take it, and they always say, they're like, look, not only does it amplify your body and your mind and your
Right.
whatever, it makes you more of the person that you are. So it worked for Steve because at Steve's core, he's a good dude. John Walker, at his core, maybe not the best guy when he chops
Although he
off that
seems
guy's
fun
head
and
with-
silly in the Thunderbolt, so you got
which
it
is
figured out.
weird. It is so weird because at the end of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. He is not a fun guy.
Right. And
He's
I
a
mean,
bad
look,
guy.
I don't need a lot. Like I said, I mean, one person going like, we can't replicate the serum. That's fine. That works fine for
Right.
me. But having them be like, I just don't want to take it. And then not even say like, because there might be side effects or something. It's just hard to understand.
Especially when he's, like Steve Rogers.
Just make him an anti-vaxxer.
There you
That's
go.
all
Could
you
you
gotta
imagine?
do.
Could
And
you
now-
imagine?
Now you're not
actually,
woke
and then
anymore, right?
those MAGA jerk
Have
offs
you-
will be like, oh, actually, he's not so bad.
Have you read the ingredients on that thing? And they only tested it for
Yeah, right.
3 months.
I was one of the test subjects.
You
How
were,
did he
yeah,
replicate? How did he replicate the super soldier so fast?
yeah, explain that to me, please. Can you?
Because it was
took
the
forever.
only good decision Trump ever made. It really was. Like,
To get it out there? Yeah.
he was like, we're going to make this even though we haven't, we think it's going to work, but we're not 100%. So we're just
Right.
going to make a bunch of it. That way, if we're right, we're ready to go and we don't waste another 3 months. Like, that made sense.
Makes
It
sense.
absolutely made sense. Like,
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut.
yeah, for sure.
A broken clock is right twice
Yeah.
a day.
I'm like, zero sarcasm right now. That
But
was a
I
good
don't
call.
like him, so I think I'm gonna say I hated it. Even though then when you ask me, do you think the vaccine was good, I'm gonna say yes. And
That's
if you
fair.
point out the hypocrisy, I'll go, get over it, Trump won, or whatever I'll say.
You'll say, I don't know.
Whatever the woke version.
yeah.
Um,
That's what my mom does. If you get her on a, well then how come though this? She'll go, oh Matt. Like, all right.
wait, is your mom in the
I love
cult?
my mother.
That's fair.
I
That's
love
fair.
her. That's all
I
I'm
get it.
saying.
I get it. I totally understand. Steve Rogers could fight the Hulk, and it would be close, right? The Hulk is gonna, is this, ridiculously powerful creature, but I feel like Steve Rogers could hold his own against the Hulk. Sam Wilson, who doesn't have the serum, surprisingly does okay. Like I kind of expected him to get his ass kicked the entire time. I do like that he ends up using the wings as like weapons, right? Like he stabs him in the gut with the tip of one of the wings. I thought the fight was well done. It didn't, sometimes the Hulk can look kind of rubbery, like he looks kind of like a Stretch Armstrong sometimes.
Sure.
I thought this whole fight sequence looked really good. It's I think it's the best a Hulk has looked in a long time.
I think so. And it sometimes you get scared to say that because then you'll see some YouTube video where they like go frame by frame and point out how, well, actually, look, this tree goes kind of through his arm. But watching it in the theater, I mean, yeah, I felt the same way. I never was like taken out of it by bad CGI or anything.
No, not at all. So we should also say that Isaiah Bradley who is I think Carl Lumbly, I think is his name. Who was also the voice of the Martian Manhunter in the Justice League cartoons, all the Bruce
that's
Timm
cool.
stuff. I think he gives a hell of a performance. He's kind of the crux of this whole thing where he gets mind controlled and he takes some shots at Ross, but he has this moment where he is very anti-government because the government fucked him over, right? He was their Captain America in the Korean War. And they took him and they put him in jail and they took him away from his wife and they experimented on him and they did all these awful things to him. So when Sam says, I'm working with Ross, he's like, you're stupid. Like, they don't care about you. They don't care about, which is, I think it's a poignant thing to say. So they get invited to the White House and he's wearing the suit that he wore the day he married his wife.
Married, yeah, I got married in it.
And I think the scene where he ends up like waking up and he's surrounded by Secret Service and cops, and he's like, Sam's like, you just got to stop. You've just tried to assassinate the president of the United States. And I think his line delivery was like, please don't let them mess up my suit. And I was like, that's like, that kind of hit. Like that hit really well, I think, with his like, I don't know what's going on. I can't go back to jail. Please don't send me back. So I think he has a really good character arc here, and I thought his performance was also very, very good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Save that. I forgot that the Sokovia Accords were still a thing. Like, I thought they were gone.
And remind me exactly.
So that was Civil War, where Ross said, "I want identities, I want powers, I want a list of all of you."
Yes,
Iron Man's like,
yes,
"Good
yes.
idea." Cap's like, "Go fuck yourself." But I thought I thought in one of the shows they said they went away. Maybe I'm wrong.
There's superheroes out there doing their thing, but I guess
Spider-Man's been around post the blip.
Right, maybe they're all registered, or maybe maybe after the blip things came back. Hey, everybody goes 5 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Right. Some people drive off into a ditch.
Some people, and you're allowed to do it. And cops will come by and say, "What are you doing down there?" Hanging out.
The fuck does it look like I'm doing?
Yeah.
So they reference that because of the Sokovia Accords, the Avengers have been gone. There have been no Avengers post Endgame, and President Ross wants Sam to put a new team together. And I don't know who's left. I don't know. Like, I'd have to go back and rewatch everything to figure out who's even left to put on the team.
Yeah, especially if the Thunderbolts are a different thing. Maybe they take people from that, but it seems like they would.
You could take. If I were Marvel, I'd be like, how many movies do we have Florence Pugh signed on for?
Yeah, right.
Because let's put her in everything. But Spider-Man.
I don't know if they want to differentiate that, and I get,
And I guess you do have the Fantastic Four, but we don't know what that's going to look like
or when.
They can't be
it takes
Avengers.
place in relation to the
you can have
main universe.
Johnny Storm. Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be a different universe. That's what I think.
To start with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do have the joke. They have the line in what was the second Multiverse of Madness when Doctor Strange sees the John Krasinski Reed Richards, and he's like, "Didn't you guys go out in the 60s?" There's a comment about that. But nobody has made a comment about the Fantastic Four
right
in the MCU. So I don't know what team Sam. He just goes to the Falcon, the Joaquin, and he's like, "You're in," and he was like, "Cool." Well, there's two, and you both have the same power set, so that doesn't really help anybody.
Yeah.
I know it hasn't really been that long, but Ironheart feels totally not. Relevant.
Black Panther 2.
Even Black Panther. I can't think of the character's name, but
Shuri.
Yeah, is anyone?
I think she got in trouble, right? Wasn't she an anti-vaxxer?
But
I don't think it matters.
We're in a different world now.
I guess that's true. It doesn't matter anyhow. Now you're just man, that's fine. You do you.
I felt. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I felt like when Thor and Captain America and Iron Man were coming out, all of those characters felt more relevant, that they would come together in a big movie.
I
guess Miss Marvel.
I guess Brie Larson's still floating around out there, right?
It just feels not that exciting. I can't think of a person or a character that they would whoa, they're teaming up, that I'd be like all that.
Hell yeah.
To me,
it's at this point, it's Johnny Storm and Peter Parker. If I can see the Human Torch and Spider-Man in the same movie, that's one of my favorite relationships in comics.
I still think Hulk being in the Thor, I wish they did more of that, two or three superhero team up,
just like a little one-on-one thing.
So I will say, and I agree. I like that. I up till now, I think Marvel's been very good about when when the characters pop up in other people's movies, that it felt organic. It made sense. That this is a big giant world. It stands to reason that you're going to cross paths with Ant-Man or whatever. And in this one, I don't feel like it felt that way at all.
It
Felt,
did not.
It felt very shoehorned in because they had to, get 3 of them in, and it just didn't feel organic. And I think one of the biggest problems Marvel has had as of late, why they feel like they've lost the thread, is if you'll remember, we talked about this a lot. Those early Marvel movies, they all took another genre and then dressed it up with superheroes. And so they've stopped doing that. And I don't know if it's like they've ran out of genres or they didn't really fully realize they were doing that, and then some point they drifted away from it. But it's like and I guess you could make the argument that this is supposed to be like a spy thriller, but it's really not. It's really just,
I mean, Winter Soldier is your spy
Winter
thriller.
Soldier absolutely is.
Yeah.
Like, that would work. Like, that works if you
this
don't. Yeah,
feels like maybe at one point it was a spy thriller.
perhaps. But
I think so.
But yeah, like, it just doesn't have that political espionage thriller vibe. It just feels like a rote action movie that uses those elements that you've seen movies do a million times.
Yeah.
And
I do think that this had the potential, right? Like, I think the idea that Ross is working behind the scenes to make everything kind of go his way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think there was a story there to be told where it's Ross is like, oh, I've turned over a new leaf, and he, on the surface, he's doing the things where he's like, I'm working with this guy who I don't really like. I want him to lead the new Avengers. Like, I am trying to work this treaty out around the world. Like, I'm not doing anything off the cuff, but behind the scenes, I'm like, I've got the leader in my back pocket who's manipulating all of this stuff. I did think, I have to believe, there was a story, there's a subplot in here where they faked that assassination attempt, and they were like, we got to take that out. Like, we can't, that's a little too on
Right,
the nose.
right.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was absolutely that he wasn't actually going to shoot the president, but it was all a setup.
Well, I think
Not
that's
saying that
true,
what
though.
happened to Trump was a setup. I don't know. Like, nobody.
But they don't
want to
like they're
about.
saying that either, right? But I do
Yes,
think
they
I
were
do
like-
think Isaiah Bradley was not intended to kill.
I think it was supposed to make it look like he was
Right.
going to kill him, because there's a moment where I thought Sam is watching the footage back,
Yeah.
and Ross drops like a second
you're
before
saying
the
that
shot
you
is
thought-
fired.
that Ross was going to be like in on the.
Yes,
I see. Okay.
yes, and
But-
I
but I am correct,
I think
right,
they
that
were
the
like, take it
leader-
out.
The leader was not trying to actually.
Correct.
Okay. Yes.
I think having the leader say, "I put that into motion. I wanted you to be tempted on."
Right.
But I think there is a plot. There's a script somewhere where Ross is in on the whole thing to make him look like he was the victim when he was not.
Yeah.
And I do feel like Marvel was like, take it out. Take it out.
I mean, that I would maybe understand. I would.
Yeah, like, I would get the inclination there, because that
Absolutely.
would definitely look like a
100%.
statement, and a statement that they really weren't trying to make.
And I
Yeah.
think that is part of the political thriller, right? Is that the guy who's the president of the United States is actually working behind the scenes to undermine the rest of the world,
Yeah.
so he can cultivate power
Well-
and have this metal all to himself.
And I mean, obviously, what he did to the leader was bad, like very bad, right? Kind of just kept him as a indentured servant
And well, not only
prisoner
that, but like injected him with more
or
gamma.
slave, I guess, just a straight up slave, and not.
Yeah,
but
he
anyway,
he kept giving him more gamma
Right.
radiation.
But it is weird in a movie like this with political thriller vibes, where you have a president going, "I'm trying to be a better person," and the kind of the end of the movie is, "Wow, he really was. He was really trying to be a better guy."
So he will allow himself to be imprisoned.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, okay, he's still the Hulk, right? Like, he's still the Red Hulk.
I'm sure they're working on it.
But Bruce Banner, the smartest man in the MCU, couldn't figure out how to get it out of his system.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
fair.
he's still the
true.
Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, in theory, we could still get a Red Hulk
Right.
somewhere, and we're going to. I think the way they're setting things up is they've already introduced the idea of the incursions. and the worlds, these different multiverses collapsing on each other, which is what we're getting. I honestly think what we'll get is there's going to be a world where Steve Rogers is the Winter Soldier, and it's going to be Chris Evans. We know that Chris Evans is coming back as some version of Captain America.
Yeah.
I think he'll be the Winter Soldier. Robert Downey Jr. obviously is coming back as Doctor Doom, which not a huge fan of, but whatever.
We'll see. Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm reserving judgment. I am skeptical.
Sure.
But I'm interested to see what the logic is here.
Correct. And the leader kind of tells Sam, he's like, I see this coming. Like, these other people from other worlds are coming here. Now, is that Galactus, which we see in the Fantastic Four trailer? I don't know. Or is he talking about other realities bleeding into the MCU? I don't know. And I'm fine with not knowing. I think that's the bottom line. I don't
And
need
maybe
to know.
they don't know yet. Keep it vague.
Is a Doomsday Wars gonna be Avengers versus X-Men? They just can't call it that? I don't know. We've seen the X-Men. We know they exist in the Marvels. We saw those characters exist at the post-credit sequence of the Marvels.
Oh yeah, but that's a different universe.
It could be. You're not wrong. I don't know.
Well, it's a shame
I
that
think
the TV show is better than this. Like
this felt like a little bit of a retread of the TV show.
Yeah, and I don't have hatred in my heart for this. I'm just like, whatever. Like
Yeah.
It makes me less excited for Thunderbolts.
I'm excited
Kinda, yeah.
enough because I love David Harbour.
Yeah.
I think Florence Pugh is incredible. I like Bucky. If the rest of those characters die, I won't be mad about it.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
the Sentry, I have the first appearance
Spectre's
of.
done for, right?
Yeah, the Ghost,
Or yeah, whatever. Is that what's
Taskmaster? I think it's Ghost. I think so. But
Spectre.
Ghost,
Oh,
Taskmaster.
you know what? I think I'm
and-
thinking of the car from Twisted Metal that can go through walls. That is called Spectre.
And I have the first appearance of the Sentry. So let's hopefully it's good.
It looks more fun. I was thinking in this movie, Tom, I think you'd stepped out, but we were talking about how people were upset that the Red Hulk is not in it enough for what the previews made it seem like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what would the trailers have been without that?
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, just Sam flying around kind of looking at a missile for a while.
I think you tease the roar.
Well,
you're like,
I
oh,
mean,
shit,
I'm
is
just
it the,
saying, like,
is it the
what
Green Hulk?
other
Is it the...
there just doesn't seem like a lot of other footage from this that would
Yeah,
have
he's
been
just saying that
enticing.
there aren't a lot of highlights from this movie that work in a trailer.
I think there would have been because I think this movie was supposed to be, if I remember right, it was Captain America versus the entire Serpent Society. There's a wrestler, Seth Rollins, who had a whole part of this movie that is taken out. Like he had a whole role that he was in that they cut out completely. So I do wonder if they threw in the Red Hulk as part of the rewrites.
I doubt that. I feel like if they had Harrison Ford there from the get-go, he was always going to be Red Hulk.
I guess that's true.
Getting that CG done
As well as they did. That's true. It's not like
in
it was
that
just thrown together.
Short of a time frame. Who knows?
I also do like that they keep making the Hulks look like the actors.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
I don't know why that works for me, but it does.
No,
Yeah.
it does.
I think the Ed Norton Hulk did not look like Ed Norton.
Yeah,
The Eric Bana one looked way too much like Eric Bana.
yeah.
And then
It's a
Mark
delicate
Ruffalo was
balance.
great. It is.
Yeah, it's kind of
It
like
is.
in the Disney cartoons, like when the genie looks like Robin Williams. Like it's,
Yeah.
like
Right.
When they have like a Hulk-verse version of Spider-Man,
Yeah.
what's your
Into the
No Way
Wall.
Home? Which is the one?
No Way Home.
No Way Home. Do you want the Eric Bana Hulk to show up with that CG, like that?
100%. And then
that
I
I
want
would
them to,
like.
I want the Mark Ruffalo one to punch him in the face.
Okay.
It is weird
you'd
though,
have
because you do have. If you were to do that, you've got Eric Bana, which is a very different looking Hulk. You've got Ed Norton's Hulk, which is also Mark Ruffalo. She-Hulk, Scar, who is Hulk's son, which shows up, spoilers for She-Hulk, shows up at the end of She-Hulk. You've got the Abomination. You've got, is that it? Betty Ross can turn into a Hulk, in the comics at least, or a Harpy. She turns into a Harpy.
You got a Red Hulk. You got a Red Hulk.
You got a Red Hulk. You got all kind. Could you imagine?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
and that's. But my main thing though is I want the Eric Bana Hulk to just be like they're using the same computer, looks exactly the same.
Ang Lee comes back to do the mocap.
Yeah. He gets his little comic book transitions that they did.
God, that movie sucks so hard. I hate that movie so much.
I like what they were trying to do, but yeah.
They gave it a shot.
They did.
Also, Jennifer Connelly. It's a fun audience.
So, well, anyway,
so there you go.
I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the virtual table, and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on all the socials, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, Letterbox, all that stuff, at Joey Butts, Butts 21. And yeah, that's it.
Hey, this is Matt. Typically, I'm down in my hole on it's I-55 North between mile marker 107 and 108, and I'll just be down there in the mud
by the river.
Occasionally, you can see me kind of walk around it and look at the tires like I'm gonna do something. So yeah, just come check me out down there.
Okay, and you can find me on Blue Sky and Threads at Tom O'Keefe Jr. or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, like our SNL episodes, and we like you extra. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, President Kellogg wins a second term.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, 'cause we already